I'm here at work. I'm actually in the HR meeting room, which I borrowed so I could have a landline for this this interview for BBC Sussex and Surrey with Allison Fern. So I've been put through. We're actually going to be on live, so I'm just waiting. So I'm just listening to the music that if you're in that area, BBC Sussex and Surrey, that you will be listening to now.
It's time to talk about iron deficiency. And I think when it comes to iron deficiency, people maybe, I think, underestimate the impact that it can have on somebody. Think, oh, you're a bit low on iron. Oh, just take a supplement, you'll be all right. However, our next guest knows firsthand how debilitating an iron deficiency can in fact be. Sally Jacks is a television presenter and she joins us on the line. Afternoon, Sally.
Hello, how are you, Allison?
I'm good, thank you. Now, it took an awful long time, didn't it, understand, for you to actually get the diagnosis of iron deficiency in the first place?
Yes, well, I haven't really been truly diagnosed with iron deficiency by my doctor. This all came about because a friend read my bloods and said, oh, I think you might be low in ferritin, because I've been ill for 4.5 years with bruising, a little bit of thinning of the hair, brittle nails, chronic fatigue. I was having anxiety attacks that were through the roof, not able to leave the house. I was having panic attacks on live television. I'd also sadly had 2 miscarriages and just numerous things that were happening to me over 4.5 years, and chest infection after chest infection. And my friend came round to my house and read my bloods, and she said, this ferritin. I said, what's that? It sounds like something your dog does, ferritin. I said, what is that? And she said, that's low. And so that's when I sort of went on the rampage, because I went back to my doctors and they said, no, you're in the guidelines. This is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But that's when I stumbled across ringing around trying to find somebody to help me in this area, because when you just get a gut feeling, because I've been ill for so long, and when I read up on it, I was like a mirror image of iron deficiency, ferritin deficiency, and so that's when I rung the iron clinic and spoke to Dr. Caitlin Scott, Professor Toby Richards, who runs the clinic, and I sent my bloods to them with my symptoms, and they said, yes, you are very, very iron deficient. I went in for an iron infusion at the end of February of this year, and 9 weeks later, I'm weaning myself off all my drugs. Honestly, Alison, I cannot even tell you how many synthetic drugs I was on. It's been a horrible time.
And how are you feeling now then?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Absolutely fantastic. I'm back to my former self. I've had no anxiety, no panic attacks. I've dropped 2 stone in weight. Now, I'm not saying that is going to make you lose weight, because iron deficiency, it's like an indirect link, because you're so chronically fatigued. All you want to do is head for the sugar. And, you don't say, oh, I'm tired, give me some broccoli and water, do you?
I don't know.
I'm tired. Yeah, give me a fizzy drink and some chocolate just to get me through and to get me through my shows on television. And I was just so shattered, and I was putting on weight, and of course that doesn't help. I couldn't breathe properly. I was on chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder medication. I was on all sorts.
It sounds like it's had a massive impact on your mental health. I mean, you mentioned having panic attacks on live TV. What happened?
Well, basically, in live television, you obviously have a talkback in your ear, and you're hearing from the gallery. This is how it all happens. I know you'll know that, Alison, but just for anybody that's listening, and you have a director that counts you in, and they'll go 10, 9, 8, going live. And it was from around about the count of 10 or 5 that I started to have this awful feeling like I was going to combust, and like it was awful. It was like I was going to faint. It was like I was going to pass out. It was like I was going to burst into flames. Now, don't ask me how I handled it, because I know a lot of people will say I need that to bottle it. I don't know how I handled it. I don't know how I got through the show, and I never said anything to anybody, because I know everybody's of all the thing of, oh, let's talk about mental health, but I was so scared, because I'm a freelancer. Was so frightened about talking about the mental health and that I had this problem, because if I was in business, I'd be saying, well, I'm not hiring her. What if she goes wrong on TV? I was so scared that I was going to lose my job. So I never mentioned anything until it all, fell into place and I became better.
Why did your GP then, do you think, say, oh no, you're fine?
Because I come in the guidelines. So what I want to also point out is that it's not the doctor's fault. Basically, the training through medical school is not enough, and then our guidelines, so their protocol that they have to follow. The guidelines in my area is your ferritin level measured in NGL is between 10 and 291. So if you sit in that guideline, if you're 12, then you're fine by a doctor's levels. But actually, at 12, you are severely deficient. So doctors aren't picking it up because it's not in the guidelines, and their training isn't good enough through medical school. So that's what my friend and I, Carrie, are now trying to either change or put a traffic light system into place. And we've got Sir Norman Lamb backing us, and we want it to go through Parliament to try and help so nobody else goes through what I've been through.
Well, let's get a medical opinion on all of this. Dr. Caitlin Scutt is from the Iron Clinic in London.
Hello.
Dr. Caitlin, so is this something you come across a lot, whereby people are feeling and experiencing the symptoms of iron deficiency, and yet they are within the NHS guidelines?
Yes, unfortunately it is something that we see a lot, and it's, as Sally's mentioned, it's because the lab reference ranges are too wide and don't take into account the point at which people develop symptoms from iron deficiency. In the past, we thought that you only got symptoms from being anemic. But through research, we've actually found that simply isn't true. When your ferritin levels drop below 100, and more specifically below 80, that's the point at which you start to develop the symptoms of iron deficiency, which is anything from hair loss, brittle nails, cracked, dry skin, the fatigue, exhaustion, headaches, brain fog, muscle aches, shortness of breath, and the anxieties, heart palpitations even. The list is endless. And it's unfortunately because those symptoms are fairly vague and fairly common to a number of different causes, it's not being picked up by the GPs because it's not flagging up as being outside of that reference range.
So what is the solution if you are low in ferritin?
So you need to replace your iron. So if your ferritin levels are low and you are symptomatic, and bearing in mind everybody is a little bit different, they all get different combinations of symptoms. If you have those symptoms because of your iron being low and because of your ferritin being low, then you need to replace that iron. The first line treatment is still iron tablets, but unfortunately they do cause side effects to a large number of people. I think the statistics are about 75% of people will get side effects from taking iron tablets. We do still recommend that you try tablets for about 3 months, and if you just cannot tolerate them because the side effects are unbearable, or you're finding that it's taking too long, so you're not feeling a resolution or an improvement in your symptoms, then the other option is an iron infusion, where you would get a dose of iron directly into your bloodstream so that it can be absorbed directly as ferritin.
Can you not just change your diet, try and eat more foods that contain sources of iron?
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely can. The problem is that our body isn't really that good at absorbing iron. The reality is that you can absorb a maximum of 65 milligrams of iron per day. The best source by far is red meat, because iron is present in red blood cells. So anything that has red blood cells in it is going to give you the most iron. You can get iron from a number of plant sources, so things like dark green vegetables, kale, broccoli, asparagus, green beans and peas, seeds and nuts, and legumes and pulses are really good. So chickpeas or lentils or beans or things like that. But our body isn't very good at it still. So it takes a very long time, and that's similarly why it takes such a long time for you to feel an improvement from taking the tablets. Because even with tablets, you can only absorb that 65 milligrams.
But I think we should say that obviously, if you are thinking of taking an iron supplement, don't do so until you have spoken to a health professional first.
Absolutely. So I would strongly recommend that if you have any of those symptoms, go in, see your GP, ask them to do a set of bloods and see what your ferritin levels are and what your full blood count shows and whether or not you are anemic. And again, if you feel that your bloods are not being read correctly, you can send any blood results into the iron clinic and we can review them for you and give you an active, honest opinion on what you can do to try and improve your levels.
Because am I right in saying that if you were to consume too much iron, then that could also have health risks?
So not entirely. It's very difficult to consume too much iron. But there are a group of people who have a condition where their body produces too much iron, and that's called hemochromatosis. So we do have a number of patients who are a bit concerned about overloading themselves. It is quite difficult to do. You would have to consume a lot of iron for a long period of time. And it's only really people who have that condition, which again is a genetic or a familial condition, that would be able to reach iron overload.
Someone once told me that you should try and avoid coffee or tea or milk near meal times. Is there something in that?
Yes. So iron is best absorbed on an empty stomach because you need an acidic pH to absorb that iron. So things like milk would obviously coat the stomach lining and would neutralize the pH slightly, which means you would absorb less of that iron. Okay. And you also actually need vitamin C to absorb iron. It's part of the process of absorbing specifically plant-based iron. And that vitamin C is needed to convert the iron into an absorbable form. So an empty stomach with vitamin C, the problem with caffeine is the caffeine actually inhibits the absorption process. So we recommend avoiding any form of caffeine. So that's chocolate, coffee, even tea, which contains caffeine. You need to avoid that caffeine for about an hour before and after consuming any iron. So through your diet, the food that you eat, or tablets.
And back to the vitamin C thing, I'm guessing then a little bit of lemon juice drizzled over some leafy greens, and you're on the right track. Yeah, apparently the best source of vitamin C is actually peppers. So orange, red, green peppers have a lot of vitamin C in them. Okay, so combine that with your leafy veg and you're doing well. Dr. Caitlin, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate that. Dr. Caitlin there from the Iron Clinic in London. Well, Sally, it certainly sounds like you've been through the wars, and I guess that's now why you're so passionate about kind of getting the message out there. Get your bloods checked. Just check that it's not an iron deficiency that's making you feel that way.
Because it's free to check, so it's free to have those bloods, but you've got to have certain bloods checked, and that's really important because if you're over 40 or over 50 and you're going for your MOT, those bloods for check-in aren't in those MOTs, which I'm also going to put forward hopefully through Parliament to try and get that changed as well, because obviously as we get older we probably I don't know, could we be losing more iron as we're getting older with working out and things like that. But also as well, all the details will be on the Iron Clinic for you to be able to go and read, and all my personal stories and the guidance to send you over to the Iron Clinic is also on my YouTube channel, which is Sally Jack's TV Mom, and I've deliberately put stories out there for people to watch me having an iron infusion, see that it's not painful, it doesn't hurt, there's no problems.
I'm not going to lie to you, Sally, it doesn't sound like the most pleasant thing in the world. What does it actually involve?
All you do is you lie in a bed, which is a bit like a beautician's bed. You lie in a bed and they put a needle. Now don't let that frighten you. You put a needle in you and then they just put the iron in you, and then they keep they observe you over the half an hour, 35 minutes. It was no problem at all. I didn't feel a thing. The only thing was afterwards I was around about 48 hours afterwards I was quite poorly with flu-like symptoms. But actually when I think about it, so I was in bed for roughly about 24, 48 hours afterwards with very cold hands, very cold feet. 48 hours fine, and then the 48 hours after that I was poorly. But for how I feel now compared to how I felt over 4.5 years, I would do it any day again, because I was so low. The food would take me too long to get my levels back up, and the tablets would take me too long. The iron infusion gets into your bloodstream a lot quicker.
Well, listen, I'm just pleased to hear that things are looking up for you, because it sounds like you've been through it. Again, though, before you take any sort of supplement, before you do an iron, any of that stuff, as always, check with your GP first.
So that was our interview with Allison Fern. She was absolutely fantastic, building awareness in the Sussex and Surrey area. And like she said, always go and get checked by your GP. I leave everything in the description below, because there's certain bloods you need checking, and that is your ferritin, transferritin saturation, serum iron, B12, vitamin D and folate. We doctors have found it, but with all the research I'm doing, it seems that if you're low in one, you might be low in the other. So just go and get that checked and send to the Iron Clinic at Dr. Caitlin Scott. I'll put everything in the description below for you to be able to find out what to do. But please just go and get yourself checked. 1 in 3 women are iron deficient within their lives. So I don't know what the stats are about the men. I think they could possibly be around about 1 in 6, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But please, please, please go and get yourself checked. And also, if you could, I would really appreciate it if you spread the word and actually spread this and share this video for others to be able to see, because it might not be you, but it could be somebody very close to you in your family that's not telling you what their symptoms are and how they are feeling. And it might be somebody just like me that's not telling you that they're suffering with anxiety and panic attacks, but yet they are, and it could be a simple thing to fix it. I went on antidepressants, which was sertraline 200 milligram, and I didn't really need to be on them. Well, I didn't need to be on them. So what I'm saying to you is, please share. You could be helping somebody that you know very well that's not mentioning a word about it. Just get them to watch the video, get them to get themselves checked, and everything is in the description below. Thank you so much as always. I hope you can join my YouTube channel. Press one of these signs, it's the to subscribe, and please don't forget to press that bell notification as well. It's lovely to have you on board. I'll see you later. Take care.